Hello, everybody. This is Alicia and Liz, and we are Yellowjackets Decoded. We are going to be breaking down Season 2, Episode 3, Digestif of Yellowjackets today. Hey, Liz, how you doing?
I'm good. That was very good French.
Thank you. Thank you. I live in Texas near enough to the border, but I took French in school.
I did too. Yeah.
So thank you, listeners, for joining us. We're jumping in with episode 3 just because we had to take a break after Servant and felt a little behind with getting episodes out. So we may mention and talk about episodes 1 and 2 as we go, or we may go back and do like a quick little episode on that at some point, but we didn't want to fall too behind. So we decided to start here with 3 and go from there. So thank you guys for joining us. We're excited to get into Yellowjackets and talk about all of the crazy stuff that's happening there.
We're jumping in the day after the big night of the first feast.
Yes. So yeah, it opens up in the immediate aftermath of the Jackie barbecue.
The Jackie Q.
Jackie Q. There we go. I was trying to think about what I wanted to call it. And I was glad to see that there were mixed feelings about it because that just was more realistic to me, I guess. In the moment they were ravenous, but then afterwards it was kind of as they were processing it, everybody was processing it a little differently.
Yeah, I was surprised by how I think the people we saw being the most kind of thoughtful about what had happened were the ones that are the least pro Lottie, Nat and Ty. Well, I mean, Ty didn't remember it, so
Right, yeah.
It's a whole different story, but the other girls I thought seemed to kind of come to the conclusion that it was okay.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
It did seem that way. Mm-hmm.
It was weird. Did you think it was weird? Yeah, it was weird, but I kind of liked it. Did you like it? Yeah, I was okay with it.
Yeah. We were talking when we were discussing episodes 1 and 2, we were discussing them breaking up into factions, and you had asked me, did I see that happening? And at the time I was like, I don't know, but I think that really showed up in this episode, especially by the end.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing it between Lottie and Nat.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that came into focus more this episode, which I thought nicely paralleled with what we were seeing in the present day as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I keep going back to Doom's Coming with that little faction of Nat, Travis, Jackie not being okay with what was going on.
Right.
Let's hunt Travis as a stag.
Poor Travis.
Poor Travis. But
yeah, like it's very scary to be one of the few males there at this point.
Clearly.
But yeah, it did seem that most of them were pretty on board with trusting Lottie.
Yeah.
In the wilderness. And I think that goes back to what the creators were saying about when you're in a situation like this and you're trying to search for meaning. And exactly. I can totally understand that you're in this situation, and anything that you can grasp onto that makes you feel comforted or like there's hope. I can't blame them for wanting to take that or indulge in that or explore, trust that, whatever it is that, they're each doing with it. So
you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. So we're really seeing that, like that argument, that age-old argument of, we've got faith versus pragmatism here.
Exactly.
Which kind of harkens to Lost too, the man of science, man of faith.
I wrote that in my notes at least 3 times.
Yeah, I think I did a couple times too. I was like,
and I think also in an echo chamber, that's not the right word, when there's no leadership, if someone's willing to step up and their direction seems reasonable, it's much easier to fall in line than to fight back.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
At first it was maybe, and now it's Lottie. Lottie knows. Trust Lottie. I'm with Lottie.
And I mean, she has I guess, accurately seen some things or predicted some things.
Well, yeah, that's what Van had said.
Yeah.
You know, she predicted
So,
she knew about the affair between the teachers, and she
mhm,
predicted something else. But then I think after the prediction of the blood river and
mhm.
the red smoke, yeah.
Now, the girl that was very, very religious, very, very Christian
Laura
in
Lee.
her beliefs.
Laura Lee, right.
Laura Lee, thank you, Laura Lee. I'm not remembering just because I still got to finish rewatching season 1. But what was her take on Lottie? Do you remember?
She was a devout Christian, and Lottie was looking for guidance. And I think that's what we're seeing in young Lottie in the past.
Mhm,
Lottie looking to make sense of what's happening, both with her hallucinations / visions and everything that's happening around them.
mhm,
And so I think she's going with her gut. She's being open-minded and inquisitive, and almost literally feeling her way through what's happening.
mhm.
But she's just more vocal about it.
Right.
And I think the other girls, that makes them look to her as a viable leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Or
somebody who can be trusted.
someone with answers,
Mhm.
possibly.
Yeah. And when you say something and you with conviction and you act with conviction, especially in a situation like this, it's like, oh, okay, she knows.
Right. Right.
Because that's easier. But she just maybe is saying it in a way that makes her sound way more sure of herself than maybe she is.
Well, and I think that's what's so great about the way the young actress is playing her.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that the most in this episode, young Lottie, every time she opens her mouth, her facial expression is one of curiosity or,
Mm-hmm.
quizzical.
Yeah.
She's not acting like my word is God.
Right.
It's,
Well, yeah.
this is what I think. I think this makes sense. This is what I feel, but she's not saying it in the way that we're seeing present day Lottie run her cult.
Right. That's what I was about to say, is that cult leaders usually are very certain. There's a probably even a
Charisma.
charismatic way about them.
Yeah.
That makes people trust them and follow them and like them.
Look at me. I have the answers. Look what I've been through.
Right.
Look where I am now. I too can guide you.
Mm-hmm.
Follow me.
And she seems to see herself with the, now I do think that begins to unravel a little bit at the end of the episode, but she seems to see herself as maybe the most like mentally healthy and well-adjusted of the survivors.
I think she would make that argument. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, look at you guys are all struggling, but look at what I'm doing with it.
Right. Here, I've melded being back into society, but being in nature. I found my balance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honoring my true self, my truest self.
Yeah. It's so funny, as we're doing this, I still have like leftover servant, like clue searching PTSD. So sometimes I just have to remind myself, I'm like, you're just watching a show and they're telling you things and you can accept this as the story without wondering what kind of crazy twist is going to happen.
What did that word mean? That one word.
Yeah. So how did you feel about Van telling Ty that she ate Jackie's face?
Well, I was just going to say, like, break it down a little,
right?
A little more gently. Hi, you ate her face.
Exactly. Like, she's clearly having a really horrible moment. I don't know that was the right thing to say.
Oh, there's a kinder way to do that.
Yeah.
You were there. You were with me. You looked at me. You were talking to me. You ate too, not you ate her face.
Yeah. I think we're beginning to see maybe the beginning of like what begins to divide Ty and Van.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, now that we know that Van is alive present day, I think through season 1 and even still now, you see that, I don't know, there's a really lovely trust and bond between the two of them.
Yes.
That is more mature and or more adult, it seems like, than pretty much anybody else there, I think. And so in my mind, I'm like, what could possibly drive these two people apart so much other than, you know, they return and obviously the trauma is hard to deal with. But I found that to be interesting that maybe they're not a part of each other's lives anymore, but perhaps this was the beginning of it, even though Van is still like, hey, you can trust me and I'm trying to help you. And okay, let me follow you where you're going in the, you know, in the middle of the night and all of that. You know, her saying you ate her face, her saying, you know, we must gather his blessings at the end, and kind of looking at Van. I mean, not looking at Van, sorry, looking at Ty when, you know, right after she says that. I think maybe we're seeing the beginnings of Van going, okay, there's something going on that we don't really understand, but I'm starting to get a little freaked out and maybe I need to take this seriously or start believing in something. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say my take is it's more about the division between, do I choose Ty over Lottie as a leader? But when you just said what you just said, so I was going to say that I think it was more about, do I choose my lover over my leader? But based on what you just said, I can see Van becoming overwhelmed by my partner has an altar and I'm in this crazy hellish experience and I need someone to trust.
Exactly. Yeah.
Follow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it may be that the combo is too much.
Right. You know, and I doubt she would, I don't know, like, would she even necessarily know what she was dealing with? You know, would she even know that she was dealing with somebody who was having that type of mental? Would
Van recognize that she was dealing with a girlfriend with an altar?
Right, exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because I feel like it would be like, well, I know this is something's going on and she's having these crazy dreams, but I doubt that she would immediately go to, okay, you know, she's maybe having, or am I seeing, you know, DID, schizophrenia? Like, is that what's going on here? I'm sure she's just assuming that it's a reaction to the trauma only.
Yeah. Like Ty's really reacting.
Yeah.
She's having a weird reaction.
Yeah. And she can't deal, and she's realizing that, like, maybe I can't deal with this alone. Maybe I need some help and support.
Yeah. Or I can't do this.
Yeah.
Too weird, man. Too much. But I do love what we see in them. The trust and the connect.
Oh, me too. It really is beautiful to, like, when they have those moments. I love their relationship.
I do too. I saw a running motif in the episode, several. One was the mixture of blood and nature.
Okay.
We see it first in the Jackie's bones. There's like blood or oil or, you know, some sort of viscous liquid dropping onto the snow.
Yeah.
And that's repeated in the episode.
And
you know,
right. And she even one of the girls asks if everybody hears the dripping.
Right. Mal or Mari.
Mar asks, does anybody hear the dripping? And nobody does, but I mean, it's there. So it's like, where was that blood coming from necessarily?
We saw the blood mixed with the moss, and then later,
okay, that's what I was wondering. I couldn't tell what it was.
Sorry, later we see the blood dripping down the log from the chicken head.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out, because I remember seeing that and I was like, well, what is that from?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think of the way the episode started with Coach's, you know?
So yeah, I was about to go to that. That was really interesting. I also a very lost device.
Yeah.
To kind of flash back and see these sort of snippets of his life and what led to I guess him being on the plane. I think that it probably doesn't bode well for his longevity.
No.
Because, you know, okay, we're gonna get to know him, we're gonna learn a little bit personal stuff about him. And obviously I think that means that he's going to be gone soon.
Oh gosh. I was just going with he's kind of lying down and waiting to die.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true too. I actually wondered, I thought of it as like a shock, like a response, you know, he's in shock because he's already been traumatized and been probably living in a state of shock and PTSD. But then when he saw what they were doing, I think that he just was traumatized further. And like you said, was probably just waiting now because he knows that for one reason or another, he's probably not going to be getting out of this.
I think he's quickly processing the lesson that the girls are learning, which is survival of the fittest.
Yeah. And what is he contributing? He's not. He can't.
Right. What do I have? I've already lost control of the girls. I'm not a leader. I'm not contributing food, strength, support. And he could be trying to offer emotional support. He could be trying to rein them in a little bit more.
Yeah.
But no, he's.
And I think that says something too, maybe too, like that scene where, we really see him discussing his job and how he doesn't want to let the girls down. But in a way, at this point, he kind of is. Because like you said, he could still offer emotional support. He could still find other ways to help lead them.
Yeah.
And he just seems sad. He seems like he, regrets going. I wondered if his partner pushed him to go after he showed back up and said, I love you and I'm going to be with you and I'm going to quit or whatever, his big decision, but he still got on the plane. So that tells me that my guess is that his partner was like, great, wonderful, love you, can't wait. Now go ahead and go. You guys are going to nationals. Go get on the plane.
Oh, I thought that was like a flash sideways, like a what if.
Oh, that's an interesting way to think about it.
What happened if I had gone back and said, what? I choose you because, and I really say this for one moment that happened.
That's really interesting take. I didn't think about it that way. I guess maybe because when it followed up after the reconciliation with the news report that the plane had gone down and was missing, I took that as sort of like this sad irony that, he had finally chosen to live the way that he wanted, the way that he's meant to live. And just the sad irony that now he won't get to do that or,
I believe it was a flash sideways or an imagined what could have been, because when he's having the discussion with Paul and telling him why he's chosen to stay, there's a line where he says, nowhere is safe. And we see the TV screen go, bzz, it does that little, like you're watching television right now. You're watching an imagined idea of what could have been.
That's really interesting. Okay, so listeners, we would love to know what you think about that because that's really interesting and a good little catch with the TV.
Also, Paul says, you always say these girls are vicious little monsters. He says they are, but nationals, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Little did Paul know how right.
Oh, very interesting. Interesting take. I like that.
But yeah, so Coach has kind of given up.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Now I was listening. I was trying to start listening to some of the interviews and preseason prep and stuff like that, just to get a take on what everybody's thinking and the direction they want to go. I do think that they kind of said some things that gave away some stuff. So there was a mention of, I was listening to a little thing between Melanie Linsky and Sophie. Yeah, Sophie Nalesi or Nales, I'm not sure, but Sophie. So there was an interview with Sophie and Melanie, and it was a fun thing, but one of them mentioned, oh, well, if I drew the card to die, yada, yada, yada. So I wondered if they weren't like really saying that as a metaphor, if that was actually sort of a slip that we're heading towards them having drawing cards, like you mentioned when we were discussing 1 and 2, our unaired episode of it. We talked about this a little bit on like how it was going to develop from necessity into more of a ritual. And you brought up like when they're drawing straws and stuff like that for the chores and things that need to be done, that might lead to them drawing like the death card.
Well, using cards, like I drew the 4. That means I have to take the poop bucket out.
Right.
Misty's complaining I drew the 4 again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really I shouldn't, but I have this vision of what's going to happen, and if it doesn't happen, I don't know what I'm going to do because it's so solid in my mind.
Yeah,
that the group will divide up into Lottie versus Nat groups, with Lottie's being the bigger. I think what's going to create the division is that the need for food and the lack of food in winter will necessitate cannibalism.
Right.
But to rationalize it,
Oh.
along with Lottie's nature's the new religion, it's just going to become highly ritualized, like a church
Yeah.
ceremony or a
Yeah.
and I can see it being a thing where if you draw a certain card, you're the one that has to put on Laura Lee's nightgown, put on Jackie's necklace, wear the bear skin cape, totems from past sacrifices.
Wow.
And then you run. And if we catch you, it has to happen as nature wants it to happen.
Wow.
But we dig pits and put sticks in them. And
Liz,
anyway,
that's really,
I think
that's a really, that makes a lot of sense to me. I can really see it going that way. That's really interesting.
just based on the pilot,
Right,
what we saw, the girls are calling to each other using animal cries, the way the animals communicate across distance.
Yeah.
And the way the girl looked like like it was a game,
Right. Yeah.
I run, maybe they cut your foot so you bleed, or it seemed very
that sounds terrifying too.
Right.
I wonder how far into the future that scene or whatever we were seeing in the pilot, I wonder how far into the future that is.
Well, so yeah, pretty far.
Yeah.
I imagine it being like Lord of the Flies when it gets to the point where they're actively hunting each other. An adult suddenly walks up on the beach and game's over. So yeah, I imagine it happening right towards the end, and then they have to quickly figure out who do we make a pact with? What are we doing? I don't know.
Do you think that the ones that are in present day, do you think that they're the only ones that survived, or do you think that there will potentially still be some people that survive that get left behind, or that have disconnected completely and just,
Yeah, I think both. I do think there will be some that will be left behind. I think it'll be one of those almost like a Lost thing where we can, or maybe it's the two groups are divided. There's an active hunt going on, and there's suddenly help, and Nat grabs her people, and maybe Shauna too, if Shauna's with Lottie.
Yeah.
Something like that. But in season 1, there's a moment where either Ty or Shauna, they reference, if it weren't for Nat, we wouldn't be here today.
So she ultimately saves them in a
that's
bigger
where
way.
I see, we're seeing Nat fighting back the most against Lottie. I see Nat being the most skeptical, like man of science, man of faith. People are gonna get sick of the Lost references. I'm gonna try to
don't hate us. I know it's a different show, but there are clear similarities, so it's hard not to talk about it.
And there's a hatch in the next episode.
Oh, a hatch. Yeah, I did wonder, I did write down, because you talked about that tree too, and I did wonder, like, was it always there, or
that when in episode 1, at the end of episode 1, when Travis and Nat are out hunting / searching for Javi, Nat spots a tree, and she's like, weird, something about the moss or at the base of the tree.
Yeah.
And I'd theorized that maybe that will lead to an underground bunker,
right,
where others are living.
Yeah,
we're getting way off track.
So yeah, they start talking about moving Jackie to the plane,
and Nat volunteers, gets kind of salty when Lottie offers her the protection tea, and Travis is there. He has the bad luck of being there.
Yeah.
And do you think it's jealousy that Nat's feeling, or just being fed up with Lottie's woo-woo nature?
I think it's more that, but I also think that she feels threatened by the way that people are responding to Lottie over her, especially Travis, because she looks at Travis as being her, her partner, or a tie to more of a grounded tie to sanity and reality. Right. And the way that Travis looks at Lottie these days, it's with this
you're a goddess. You're
Yeah. And I don't think that Nat is necessarily like processing that as he's looking at Lottie and sort of as a motherly figure or a comforting figure. I doubt that she's able to necessarily discern the difference there between like romantic love and I don't know, spiritual, maybe the desire for spiritual guidance.
that makes sense.
I did, it did seem like the coach was a little bit pissed. He's like, well, we can just pretend. I guess we can pretend she died with the others. Like, it's very clear there that he does not approve of what happened.
No, that's his one dig that he gets in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in present day, Nat, in my opinion, seems to. Okay, this is what I kept wondering about Nat through the present day storyline of this episode. Was she certainly seems curious and almost like she's questioning or just trying to decide how she feels about adult Lottie's cult.
Yeah, I keep teetering on, is it all that, or is she playing spy? I think it's
Exactly.
a little both.
That's what I'm wondering too. Yeah.
In the teaser for next week, we see her kind of, it looks like she's going to try to sneak into Lottie's quarters.
Right. Yeah. Which she kind of tried to do here until Lisa caught her and said like, hey, it's locked.
Right. And that was where there's a recurring theme of the women in present day being very comfortable, even welcoming of violence.
Mm-hmm.
And we get an instance here with Lisa, the young girl, trying to intimidate Nat by, chopping off the head of that chicken.
Chop this chicken head like it's nothing.
Right. That I was just cradling. And Nat literally leans in, she gets closer and warns her, you don't ever want to swing a axe close to your hand. You might lose it.
Yeah.
A double or a dig about the fork in the hand too.
Yeah. Lisa's quite was giving her a lot of aggressive shade there.
Lisa's pissed, as we learn later.
Yeah. Very angry.
You knew we were helping you.
But yeah, I think Nat is always just a little hard to read, but I imagine she's probably doing both. Although when I was listening to one of the interviews, Juliette Lewis was talking about the difference between last year, Nat was sort of on a quest to end her life and end things. And she was really determined to do that initially, at least. And but she said that this season, the focus is on living more so and trying to like actually work through some of her stuff. And so she said it was a big gear shift from, okay, I don't want to be here, to, okay, I'm trying to figure out like what living
that looks like
is going to look like for me, and what do I want that to look like, and what do I need so that
like
I can
it's a contrast between what we're seeing in past and present. Not being so skeptical of Lottie and dismissive, and in present day being maybe more open.
Yeah. So I think that's why I read some of it as curious, because it's like, well, it seems like, I mean, she knows Lottie's like, it's obviously a cult, but at the same time, there's a part of her that's like, well, it's not like I'm doing any better.
I wonder how much of it is related to Lottie's apparent good intentions in the past.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And having some empathy to the fact that, they're all pretty screwed up from this. So, and she knows that like Lottie is screwed up from it too. Lottie can pretend all day long, but she's like, I know you.
Oh yeah.
These people don't know you in the way that I know you.
They're like family.
So after this, we've got a scene. If I skip over anything, let me know. But after this, we kind of move into the hospital and the aftermath of the car accident, where the doctor is, we're sort of seeing the fuzzy world of what I'm guessing is Ty's altar in that moment, but it felt different than what it does when it has been her altar in the past. So
you know what? It felt like Ty waking up. Like Ty coming to after the altar had taken control.
Okay, that makes sense.
Plus, a night spent in the hospital, not getting any sleep after an accident. But it felt like she was kind of coming to, well, she was coming to, because there's the symbol on Simone's hand.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yes.
So the altar took control at some point.
So when the doctor says, like in the interim, in that transition, that they're not out of the woods. But then she wakes up and the doctor's like, oh, she's hanging in there. I took that to mean is that like whatever happened in like the first thing that the doctor said was not true at all, that was not said, that was more of maybe a fantasy of the altar and what the altar was wishing would happen versus what was actually going on.
Ooh, I didn't even think about it like that. I thought it was just like a memory of, earlier in the night and she's now better, but I like that
Oh, okay.
take.
That's interesting too. Yeah.
I love
Okay.
that we're having different takes on things. Different
That's good though. That's really interesting because I hadn't thought about it that way, but that makes sense.
All right, well,
I like that
I like
too.
yours.
But yeah, I was like, is this the altar's wish? And if so, why? Right. You mentioned in the notes that you sent, you were talking about the altar having needs and that things are getting trickier for Ty. So I thought maybe you might elaborate on that a little bit and like what that looks like, just because I'm not super familiar with sort of how that mental illness might work logistically, like in that person's mind.
Yeah, I think I noted that if the writers were going to be like super accurate about dissociative identity disorder, they would have maybe shown more of a traumatic, chaotic childhood. But I think they did that with that scene of Ty being with her grandmother alone when the grandmother's dying and, getting that horrific incident with the grandmother being so afraid of death when previously she talked about it being a peaceful thing. And that's when she first sees the man with no eyes or the one with no eyes. Yeah, I mean, typically dissociative identity disorder comes from, horrific or extended trauma in a certain window of childhood development, and dissociation is the first step, and then that leads to
Do you think that then so you think that that moment with the grandmother is probably meant to be the origin of that, or do you think that there's more stuff that we might see about that, where that came from?
I think it's a nod from the writers to we're doing some due diligence, because they're addressing mental health in a really sensitive and intelligent way on the show.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of evidence that this is something that Ty may have dealt with even if the accident hadn't occurred.
Right.
But who knows? But it's certainly happening. It happened when she was out there. I wonder if it was dormant for a while and it's coming back now.
Yeah.
Because it seems like she had a period of stability with Simone.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It does seem that way. And that's why I said earlier too, like and I got the same thing from Lottie, because at the end, I don't know if it was at the end or if it was in like the preview for next episode. It might have been there, but I think Lottie says something to somebody that she's talking to, maybe a counselor or something. I think it was in the preview, but that she's like her hallucinations or something are returning.
They're back. Yeah, they're back, and I need them to go away.
Yeah. And so interesting that would occur kind of simultaneously with Ty having these hallucinations. So yeah, it that's why I was saying like, it seems like maybe there was some stability for a while, and for some reason it's kicking up for multiple people, right? At this point in time.
And I wonder if them reaching out to each other, or Ty having hired Jessica Roberts to, talk to them all. Regardless, they're now more in communication than they normally are, and I wonder if it's just feeding on itself.
Right. Exactly.
The more I remember, the more it comes back. The more the old defense mechanisms come back.
Yeah.
And the old feelings and urges and impulses. Yeah. I think that's what we're seeing.
I think so too. I do too. But now we know her altar. I wonder if we'll get a name for the altar.
I've heard people, I've seen people online using Ty and then Issa.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I think that might have been a writer's thing, but I'm not sure. I like it.
I like it too. Well, we'll use it for today. So
okay.
Issa. Ty's altar has drawn the symbol in Simone's hand, and the symbol and what it might mean does come up.
Right.
Is it a bad omen, or is it a good luck charm or a blessing or whatever? And I think that by the end, it's pretty clear that it's a bad thing.
Yeah. What does that mean? The altar is like, die, Simone. Don't pull through.
Yeah, I mean, does
I
it mean death, perhaps?
Well, the man with no eyes, according to the grandmother, is the harbinger of death.
Okay.
So if he's drawn to the symbol, then what does that mean? I mean, I think it
Yeah.
points to it being a bad thing,
So
but
perhaps too, it's like death is coming for them.
maybe.
You know, like if Ty or Issa or one of them or both of them is seeing the man with no eyes, and it is a real thing, you know, death horseman,
A
if you will, or
harbinger,
whatever.
yeah.
That it's coming for Ty or for whomever else. But yeah, that definitely. And then you know, you see in the past that Lottie is really wanting to hold on to that being a symbol of something good. We talked a little bit also in our unaired episode about like what the symbol is, and
Right.
I kind of mentioned it looking like it was sort of a stick figure of a girl in a way, but like two of them and inverted on themselves, and then you know the slash through it. And so if they're having hallucinations, I thought, maybe that harkens back to, you know, there being a duality of some kind. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what the symbol represents in some way, a duality of some kind. I don't know.
What's interesting is that it existed before they got there.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's more about mines, mines,
Mhm.
caves, and these are symbols of people that are familiar,
Yeah.
old,
Yeah.
people that were there before. Maybe it's a
Right.
symbol like this is our land, or
Uh-huh. Or it's like a
this,
warning of some kind.
right, or even like a secret message, like this is
Right.
how you get to the to the good mine
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
here,
sense. Yeah.
this way.
I like that.
Because they talk about like the iron in the dirt, and I was reading
Yeah, tell us a
online.
little bit about that. That's one thing I didn't get a chance to look into, was the minerals and stuff in the dirt and the Red River and all of that. So what did you find on that?
Well, I think Misty talked about there's like iron can cause water to go red,
Mm-hmm.
and later on in the episode she notes again there's iron in the dirt. It can make compasses wonky, it can make birds lose direction. But I read online that it can cause hallucinations.
Wow.
It can cause some of the symptoms that we're seeing that could be supernatural or could be simply like poison.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And I also saw, I don't know if you saw this online as well, but that made me think of the fact that somebody was saying that that is what Lottie's father did. He's involved in. Did you see that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And when there was the flashback to Lottie when she stops the parents from getting in that car accident,
Mm-hmm.
on the news, you hear them talking about the what is it, the Exxon Valdez oil spill.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so mining.
Yeah.
And then I think you theorized maybe the dad might have been involved somehow.
Yeah.
Like being curious about the land, perhaps. And that's another reason for hiring the private plane.
Right.
To fly over, maybe like go a little bit out of the way to take some aerial photographs of this area that I'm interested in that might be rich with iron and other minerals I could mine for more money.
Which makes me think that, like, you know, perhaps that's how they can find them. And also makes me wonder, if he owns the plane and he knows about this land in this area, why did it take so long to find them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because what do they, or in Coach's imagined memory of what happens if he hadn't gotten on the plane, in the news it said,
you know, now that I'm thinking about it, that being like a fantasy for him, like wishing that that's what he had done, otherwise he wouldn't be in this situation.
That
makes so much so much sense. It makes more sense than what I thought it was. It really does. Because I was thinking about it just like, okay, he went over there and said that. And the guy was like, great. Okay, now go, you guys are going to nationals. So go and do it. But what you're saying makes more
it really
sense.
was what I wish had been.
Because the fantasy was sort of like this big rom-com moment, essentially.
And they do the buzzy TV, like I'm watching something that's not real.
It's not happened. Yeah. What a great catch, Liz. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, so I definitely think there's something going on with Lottie's dad and whatever he does. And so all of those things can cause that stuff. That's interesting. And that makes me think too, again, about him saying, fix her to Lottie. And it's like, well, of course you want her to be well, right? Your dad, or is it fix her because otherwise
it might much.
It might bring down my entire
operation. Oh yes.
Yeah.
I remember when we see the quick footage from, I think, episode 1 of this season, when we see the girls being rescued and kind of hurried on a plane, we hear reporters talking and they say that the plane was 600 miles off course.
Yes.
In the Canadian mountains.
Now, how is that? Pardon my ignorance, but is that a very significant off-course mileage? I mean, because I'm thinking like when you're on a plane and you're going so fast, like how dramatic of a diversion is that?
My dumb brain that knows nothing wants to say it's a lot. But
yeah.
My more intelligent brain that actually went to college and graduate school says if you're looking at wilderness, it would be really difficult to even know what you're looking for.
Right.
Because all you're seeing from a plane is trees.
Yeah, exactly.
And 600 miles, you can't really walk that as a search party.
Right.
You're dependent on aerial rescue, I believe.
Yeah.
And it would be almost impossible to notice anything of the girls or the plane or the cabin or even smoke, you know.
Especially with, like all the trees and whatnot, makes it tougher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next, we're moving on to Misty meeting Walter
on
the
FBI
boat for the first time.
Yep. Great Expectations is the name of the boat.
Yes. Oh, that's interesting. I missed that. That's cute. Like, do you think that the boat being named Great Expectations gives us any clues about him or about how things are going to unfold between the two of them?
No, I just picked up on a couple of literary references.
Yeah.
Great Expectations, Sherlock Holmes, and then Cyrano.
Yes, Cyrano was good too. Yeah.
I think meant to just show that they're both very intelligent and they like to read books and do nerdy stuff.
Kind of like a good match for each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. I did think it was cute how she almost immediately freaked out when she saw who it was because, she does try to like keep it together in general.
Wait, this is my case, playing it cool, and then oh shit, it's Randy. I gotta hide.
Exactly. I do you think that Walter, do you think that this, because I had two thoughts. I thought either one, Walter is hiding way more, than she realizes, and that's what he's gonna work her, by appealing to her sense of wanting to feel, exactly,
honored and
or they are going to have this lovely little connection and romance, and he's going to find something out, and one of the other girls is going to kill him or something like that, something horrible, and then that will cause an even further division between Misty and whoever it is that has to do it.
Ooh, I didn't think about that.
Or he finds something out and they know that they have to get rid of him, and they make Misty do it so that she won't turn him.
No.
Which would be horrible too.
So mean. Wow.
You know me. You can always count on me to go to the darkest point.
You are going to dark places. Damn, Alicia. All right. Alicia in real life is so kind and sweet and lovely. So when she goes dark, I'm always shocked. It really throws me for a loop.
When I was younger, I read so many books about fiction books, but things that involve the apocalypse or teenagers dying of cancer or heart disease.
Oh God.
I don't know why, but
You
yeah.
dark,
So
dark
I guess
child.
I've always just sort of go as like dramatic as possible
Okay.
on
I'm
my
gonna choose
predictions.
to look at it that way. It's the actress in you, not the
Maybe.
sociopath.
But I did think that they were cute, and I just was like,
They
oh,
were cute. I worry about poor Walter Elijah
yeah,
with his big blue eyes.
yeah.
He said I like to be able to leave the country without
Yeah.
worrying about.
You never know when you have to leave the country without a passport.
There you go.
Yeah,
So maybe he'll get away. Maybe
yeah,
that was a hint that he'll realize they're coming, and I gotta
yeah.
run, and I got a boat. So
Now that would be kind of cool. Yeah, I do. I would dig that about him like escaping narrowly and being out there somewhere knowing more than they want him to know. That would be interesting.
I think poor Misty, when she says, "Oh, you're a hacker," like just say it, like I get it, isn't thinking 10 steps ahead. He
Right.
could hack my computer, and maybe there's stuff about what Shauna did, what we
Yeah.
did, Adam.
Bug the phone, all sorts of things.
Yeah, he found her. I mean, she
Yeah.
found him too, but
Still.
yeah. And
I feel like that should make her a little more nervous than she is.
It really should. Note that when she says, "Why did you go to all this, all the work you did to meet me?" He says, "I wanted to meet the great, Misty Quigley, the great African Grey, or maybe I'm just a bored Sherlock looking for my Moriarty." Not Holmes, Moriarty, the antagonist to Sherlock.
Interesting. See, I'm embarrassingly not familiar enough with that to have gotten that reference, but that is really interesting.
Well, they're great rival minds, but they're rivals.
But they're rivals, yeah.
They're not,
So I
partners.
wonder what she made of that then. I wonder if she like processed what he meant, or if like her desire to like belong and to have love and stuff clouded her judgment.
I
Time
think
will
the
tell,
great
I
thing about
suppose.
the character is that you never know.
Right.
Because we thought that she and Jessica were good. And
Yeah.
then she did that neat little cigarette trick. And we remember that Misty
Exactly. Yeah.
kills people and knows how to kill people. Get rid of bodies.
Okay, so we go from there into the whole sequence with Shauna and her husband at the diner, and then the car thief scammer and everything that happened there.
So this and the scene before with Misty and Walter goes to another theme that I recognize in the episode. The whole episode seems to be about honesty, truth and lies, deception, being honest with yourself or lying to yourself, but also to others. So we see a moment of honesty when Shauna and Jeff are in the diner really talking about why Shauna did what she did, why she had the affair. We see it with Misty and Walter. Misty lies to Walter about why she was downvoting his Adam comments. And then Walter reveals that wasn't really his mom.
Yeah.
So anyway, just wanted to note that it runs throughout the episode. So Shauna and Jeff, it took me forever to figure out what Jeff. I thought Jeff said strawberry loop, not lube.
And
I'm like, is that a dessert or a drink? Why would that be for bisexuals and goths? What
I think happened? I probably just picked it up quickly because he mentioned the bachelorette party or something.
That went right over my head. I'm like, what the fuck is a strawberry loop? I don't get it.
I felt for him. I think that I understood exactly what Shauna was trying to explain to him about how it wasn't about him. It was about her.
Well, that's what you always hear and read about affairs. It's never about your partner. It's about you.
Exactly.
It's not about your partner lacking. It's about you feeling like you're missing something.
Yeah, I'm missing something. I'm unable to fill myself up for some reason, or I don't know how to deal with whatever I've got going on. And so it's acting out of sorts.
Right. I don't like who I am right now. And that's what she says. I liked not feeling like this boring version of me.
Yeah.
And poor Jeff thinks, well, I just have to be more spontaneous and take my wife butter churning.
Oh my God, I was like, oh, Jeff.
Poor Jeff. Colonial Williamsburg. How romantic.
You
How
know,
hot.
right? I know he meant well, but
I
yeah,
love Jeff. He
yeah.
means so well, and he's so outmatched by
Mhm.
Shauna.
Yeah. Yeah. So their
I'm
whole interaction and that whole part when she outwits the guy for a moment.
Well, that's another being comfortable with violence. She leans into it, tackles him, gets the gun, and Jeff's like, why are you fighting over a rusty old minivan?
And
It's
like I
got
had
a
mixed feelings about that because part of me thought, has she been hiding so much of herself this whole time that this behavior is such a shock to you?
Yeah.
This is your wife that you say you know super well of 22 years, but this has never shown its face before.
Right.
So I found that a little bit strange. Fair, okay, fine, if that's the case, but I was just like, man, I mean, if the events of the last, that we've seen so far up till now in present day, if this is the first time he's ever noticing it, then I guess she really did do a lot of suppressing. But I do find it hard to believe that after all of this and knowing, who he is and how he's connected to her past anyway, I don't know. It just feels a little strange to me that he seems like he doesn't really know her. This is the same girl who stopped the car and put the moves on her best friend's boyfriend. And you're acting like she's just this timid, meek mouse that's never been bold or done crazy shit or done something that was, reckless.
Or wanted to try strawberry lube.
Yeah, I don't know. So to me, it just seems more like he's perfectly willing to turn a blind eye to that.
Look at who his best friend is,
Yeah.
It's kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeff likes to keep things simple.
Yeah.
And I think that leads to a lot of turning a blind eye and rationalizing. And I didn't see that. I don't pay attention to things I don't want to see.
Yeah.
And I can imagine Shauna with all of her conflicting feelings about being a mother and maybe what she did out in the wilderness, came back really determined, I'm going to be the most boring, solid wife and mother that I can be.
That makes sense. Yeah. Like I've had enough excitement. I just want to live like a boring, normal life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then she was talking to Lottie in season 1 about, I always thought I'd go to, Europe and have an affair with a mime or a poet she's a tricky character.
She really is. I think there's a sense of wildness and adventure inside of her that we see more in teen Shauna, and that maybe life just kind of beat out of her. I'm sure when she returned, there was an expectation that she was the same person that she was when she left. Not only was that person not fully formed to begin with, but now this huge thing has happened. And how could she ever be the same?
And I wonder how much of it was guilt,
right?
Like residual guilt.
Yeah.
I killed my best friend.
Yeah.
I could see that sticking with her.
Absolutely.
And being a motivating factor to be good, quote unquote.
Yeah. And live the life that Jackie could have lived but didn't.
Yeah.
In the first season, one of the things that I felt strongly, and I don't feel it as much now, maybe that's because Jackie's not around in the same way. I felt very strongly in the first season that Shauna wanted Jackie's life, and that there was something kind of dark about the fact that she came back and just stepped right into it as though this is what I've wanted, and now I'm taking her life. And that maybe farther down the line, it was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I didn't want that life, or maybe I can't have her life because I'm me, I'm not her. And so I tried to be this person that I thought I was, but maybe I was really being the person that she thought I was. And I didn't really know what my potential was. And I never had the chance to figure that out before all of this stuff happened.
I'm going with guilt. If I'm the mousy housewife, the good wife, the good mother, no one will ever know. No one could ever guess that I did this horrible thing.
Yeah.
That I have so much guilt around.
Right. Yeah.
I think that would be enough to stop her in her tracks for a while.
Yeah.
But everything that you're saying, it points to what a complex character she is, and why I think she's a fan favorite. Aside from Melanie Linsky, who's
of course
wonderful.
Who I didn't know was from New Zealand until I started listening to the interviews.
Oh, really?
No way. Yeah. And ironically, too, she's in Leaves of Grass, which was the movie with Edward Norton that I was in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I didn't get to meet her. I wasn't on set with her because we didn't share any scenes. But yeah, I've always loved her and been proud of the fact that she was in that. And also, I've seen her in so many other things that I've loved, and somehow still managed to miss that she was New Zealand.
Well, you should be very proud that you share a screen credit with her.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you
Strawberry
also mentioned it because she's bringing up like the reasons why she went to bat for this crappy minivan.
Yeah, Mr. Shoosums, the animal that what did she say? I think Callie loved him more than she loved me. And then Jeff says when she was 6, but yeah, Shauna, wondering what kind of mother she's gonna be.
The baby shower idea and that scene
Right.
felt so sad to me.
Saddest baby shower ever.
Yeah. And just
She
the
did
way
not
that
look
they all, like when
happy.
they suggested it, there was just this sense of like, yeah, this would be amazing. And you're just, that it's just this little thing that they're holding on to try and make life feel more normal.
It's very sad.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Well, because it starts with, again, Shauna and Lottie talking about how they feel about what happened the night before.
Right.
And Lottie's trying to offer comfort. It's what she would have wanted for you and for the baby. And Shauna says, but I wanted it too. I don't know. I feel so fucked up. And then Lottie says, you can't blame yourself. We all did it together. Another important moment, they did it as a group. So they share the shame. It's safer that way.
Yeah.
And that's mirrored when she says, well, Shauna says, I'm scared, Lottie. Everything feels out of control. I don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, what if and then Lottie says, Shauna, no, you won't hurt the baby. You're going to be a great mom. You're going to have all of us to help, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. So again, like as a group, we're going to
do this together.
We're going to do it together, and it'll be safer that way. Contrast Shauna saying, I'm scared, Lottie. Everything feels out of control, with when she's in the diner with Jeff, and she says, I missed that feeling of not knowing what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
She wants the very thing that she had back in the wilderness when she didn't want it.
Which is so like such a honest and relatable human feeling and reaction to think that, the grass is greener on the other side, or that, you always want something that you don't have.
What did you think of Lottie saying we should do something to welcome him?
Yeah.
Him.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting. And I hadn't even thought about it being a boy because for some reason in my head, I just decided it was a girl. So
I think we all felt that way.
Yeah.
Or I did.
So that was unexpected. What did you think of it? Or how did
I was thrown? Lottie backs it up quickly. She's like, no, I mean for you. And, the shower be for you. And we should, be getting ready and it'd be nice. I wrote baby sex, ? Cabin man, ? Nature god, ? Who is him?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't know. For some reason, I kept thinking nature god, like we should do something to welcome him. Maybe it's a gut feeling, and maybe she has a boy. Maybe this is another case where it'll reinforce Lottie's role as a leader because she'll have guessed the sex correctly. Because notice in the shower, she's getting gifts for him, like the teepee.
Right, exactly. You're right. And then they're like, well, if it's a boy. But you can tell they already kind of are
following Lottie's lead.
Yeah, exactly.
Or guess, or whatever it is.
And I think it being a boy almost makes it more threatening and more scary for a few different reasons. One, because they're all girls.
Yeah.
And so it would be easier to have a girl because they know that. Right. So also, with there being so few males there and knowing how things are going for the males.
We've got worthless one-legged Coach here who's in bed all day, and Travis who's suddenly afraid of everything.
Exactly. Missing Javi.
Javi kicked rocks, didn't know where he went.
Yeah.
Pieced out after the doom's coming.
So there's definitely That's definitely throws an interesting sort of curveball into how that would affect the dynamic of everybody, how they would react to having a boy there. Okay, let's see. We've got the the interrogation on the boat continuing, which I just thought was kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I also kind of wanted more from all of that, so that there was that whole thing just felt like they spent a lot of time on something that I wasn't sure needed that much time spent on it. But
no, there was very little payback or reward for so much time.
Exactly. They spent all this time on it and there really wasn't anything to it in the end.
And why separate Elijah Wood and Christina Ricci when we've been waiting to see them acting together?
Yeah, that's true too.
All of a sudden they're, doing it Cyrano style.
Yeah.
But again, that recurring theme of being quick to lean to violence, to go to violence. Right. Misty's immediately like, hit him. You've got to get physical with him.
Yeah.
You've got to get violent. That's the only way we're going to get, the information that we need.
Right.
We've got to get violent right away.
Yeah.
I thought that was a neat way to do it.
Yeah.
That they're, the running theme of quick to violence.
Yeah.
Not afraid of it. But the girls getting ready for the baby shower. Mari with her the stabbing
pencil or whatever it was that was hanging. Yeah.
The mobile
the
with
mobile.
the skates. And that's like, great. So the baby can dream it's getting stabbed to death every night.
I did really enjoy watching Misty bonding with the other girl, talking about acting and performing, and
Crystal. Yeah.
Crystal, thank you. Yes, I really enjoyed that conversation. Maybe it's just because I'm an actor, so I enjoyed it felt like a little, I just thought I liked the way that she talked about it. I thought Misty did a great job with that monologue.
Good. I thought so too. I liked the line she had. I'm always in awe when I can see someone becoming someone else. And I wrote shades of Ty, maybe Lottie.
Yeah.
What they're becoming.
I agree.
I like that Misty has a friend in the past.
Yeah. So I did get a little freaked out when she talked about like, oh, I've eaten another person before. I absorbed my twin.
I like to think that I'm channeling them when I'm on
stage. Like, not the same thing. Yeah, she was definitely a little off, but that's okay because so is Misty. So it was cute to see them bond and find friendship in each other because everybody needs that. Yes. And I like that, maybe Misty was finally getting that.
Yeah. Then we have the coach, the flash sideways, the memory maybe, or the wish fulfillment.
Right.
And then Nat delivering Jackie's bones to the plane. One thing I noted, she said, I think shit's going to get a lot worse out here.
Yeah.
And I thought that was foreboding for telling.
Yeah. In their interviews, they said that they kept calling the season the winter of discontent.
I love that.
And then we have the big white moose.
Good. I wrote caribou. That's the same thing, right?
You're probably right. Yeah, I think it is. It's one of those like kind of interchangeable.
Caribou. So I looked at it as a take on a white stag has been meant to foretell a spiritual journey or impending change or something big is coming, so be careful how you tread. It's also been a symbol of Christianity being spread. But I thought that was interesting, Nat being the holdout versus nature's the new religion, maybe Nat becoming a leader of her own group.
I looked up like symbolism for moose. I said white moose, but moose kind of came up, and caribou. Ooh. And it said that moose embody wisdom and strength. If the moose is your spirit animal, you're an intuitive person and natural born leader. So that speaks to what you were just saying too. The moose is also a deep thinking spirit guide, encouraging us to look inside. These large creatures embody power and independence. Moose energy doesn't mind being solitary, but it's also comfortable lending a listening ear. If the moose is your spirit animal, you also have a deep connection to nature.
Wow.
Yeah. Strength, determination, and tenacity.
That all sounds like Nat.
It does, yeah.
People have been divided over, was it a vision, was it a hallucination, or was it a real?
I wondered that too. I mean, to me, it felt real, but then at the end of it, when it charged at her and then it disappeared, that's when I wondered, okay, wait a minute, did that really just happen or not?
On my third rewatch, I paid attention to what the ground looked like when it was gone, and you could see the tracks.
Okay, all right.
So I'm going to go with it having been real.
Yeah, I felt like it was.
I thought, well, that could have been food. Oh no.
Well, of course. Yeah. I
That
mean,
could
I think she thought that too. So, like, I would imagine she'll go hunting for it now, knowing that it's there. Like, again, lost reference, think about like when they saw the polar bear, right? And then it was like, okay, well, that means there's food out there. I'm going to go look for another polar bear or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it sort of propelled them to try harder with their hunting. So, perhaps that's what we'll see here too. Now that she knows it's there, she's going to try and go find it, maybe.
Or it might be like
I thought about how like it was kind of like Jackie leading her to a food source. So
that's an interesting take.
Like there was talk about perhaps they are going to survive through the winter now because of Jackie is what I think was said, or perhaps we'll live through winter because of Jackie. And I thought, well, I mean, they had one meal, right? So like
I really like that one.
Yeah. So then when Nat ran into the moose, I thought, okay, well, if she's able to bag this, then yeah, in a way too, Jackie has led them to more food that will help sustain them through the winter. So that was the way I was thinking about it too. So that's why I assumed it was real because of those things.
Well, in the teaser for next week, you see Nat. It looks like she falls through the lake. Travis pulls her out. But I wonder if she like goes, she's running after that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she probably would. Yeah. Also, I thought about the nature as sort of God or religion as well, because they did what they did with Jackie. And then following that, Nat finds the moose. So we know that there's potential for a food source there. But then, of course, at the end, all of the birds falling from the sky, that also is a food source, potentially, right? Like, I know they're all dead. So I would go like, hey, all these birds are dead. Maybe we shouldn't eat them.
Well, that's what Nat says. They might be diseased. Don't touch them.
Yeah. But the others could be looking at it as like, no, this is our reward. We did what we were supposed to do. And now we're being rewarded with more abundance and more food so that we can survive.
So why does Lottie say we should gather them as blessings?
I think what somebody said, because I think that they had the caption on, and what they clarified was that it said, we should gather his blessings.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
So his being God or nature God Yeah.
We're going to welcome him and then gather his great.
I think after this, Van, I think that's when she follows her through the woods at night, or maybe that was earlier, but I wrote it down there.
Right after this, Misty and Walt interrogating Randy, they learn about the purple Fanta eaters.
Yes. So she has a lead there.
I noted that Misty feels like she's failed Nat in that moment because she's like, well, we didn't get anything. Though they liked Fanta. Great.
Yeah.
All that for nothing. I can't find my best friend. And then she has a win in the past, present day failure. Past, she does her monologue and it's a win. She makes people happy.
Yeah. That's true.
Pulls it off. What I thought in that moment when she was doing her monologue, I thought, why are they not doing this every night? Having TV, like human TV, acting out scenes.
Oh, that's a great point. Maybe we'll start to see that now.
That's what I would have done.
That would be interesting. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So tell me what you thought about Crystal's acting advice. We're made of lies.
Yeah, I was like, huh. And I thought about that on a deeper level. I was like, well, what does that really mean? One of the things that I really don't like is when people, especially people who aren't actors, will, sort of assume that if you're an actor, that means that you're a good liar, or that you're always sort of acting / lying and putting on a performance. And my response to that is that, like, that's not what being an actor is. Being an actor is finding truth in the moment.
That's what I've always heard.
Yeah. Like we're mirroring, Stanislavski, the father of modern drama, says that our job is to hold a mirror up to nature. And so, yeah, I mean, that's always my response. Like, but I get what she was saying. So I didn't. Okay. So when she said that, I thought, okay, well, what does she really mean there? Because it's not, and I know it's not about like being a good liar. That's not what she means. So I thought, what does she really mean? And that is, we all tell ourselves different stories and different lies to get through our day or to make sense of things. And so what lies is your character telling themselves that is motivating whatever their actions are?
And that's their truth.
Right. And that's their truth. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and they're also referring to themselves, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This
Right.
is how we're going to make it through this. We're
Is
going
how we do
to,
this. Yeah.
yeah, right. And
Yeah.
how they're living in present day.
Right. Yeah. What lies do we tell ourselves so that life
We
can,
can live with what we've
yeah. Right.
lived.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. That was a good question.
Yeah. Well, I like to hear you talk about acting. We've got Van and Ty sleeping.
Yes.
Or Ty sleeping. Van's watching Ty carefully because she's
waiting.
learned new information, right? Yeah. Ty suddenly gets up and, hey, if I let you loose, can I come with you? Yes, come. And then, hey, wait, how do you know where you're going? He shows me. Who's he? The one with no eyes. Is that who you always follow? Only when she lets me. Who's she? Am I she? No, Thaisa. And then she wakes her up by saying, Ty, how did you know about this? Hey, she keeps saying her name, Ty, because Ty has gotten to the tree with the symbol.
Right.
And she's staring at it intently.
Yeah.
I looked up symbolism around mirrors because we get a flat when Ty's kind of coming to with Van in that forest. She has a flashback to the man with no eyes.
Right.
What did you think that creature looked like? Did you get a good look?
I didn't really. I mean, I did, but I didn't. I didn't like pause it and look very closely.
I thought it looked a little bit like Van.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Van with no eyes, but
interesting. Let's get a screenshot of it and we'll put it up and we'll take a closer look.
Good idea.
Yeah.
What I noted was that we're seeing the contrast in past alter and current alter. Contrast in past alter maybe having less agency and current alter taking more agency.
I like that.
In the past, we see this alter.
Okay, I wrote down this question. The one with no eyes, do you think that is the alter?
No.
Okay.
I think the one with no eyes was the inciting event writers are pointing to as the traumatic event in Ty's childhood.
Okay.
That caused this split.
Okay, got it. And what do you think then that the alter wants?
I don't know. I mean, that's the question.
Yeah.
Now I know
when at the end, okay, so when she's standing there and she says, "What do you want?" Were you able to see? I know that we're not really here yet, but since we're talking about it,
it took me a second watch to make out what she was saying. No, she says, "Go to her." She makes the V,
right?
But also, it's like the mask that Van used to wear.
Oh my gosh! See, oh my gosh. Okay, that makes way more sense. I thought because of the shape of it and the way she was doing it. In my mind, I was actually thinking the symbol.
Oh.
That she was sort of like creating with her hands the symbol on her face, which then in my mind was further sort of a pull to say, like, you need to go back.
Yeah.
But what you're saying that's definitely what it is.
Yeah.
Also knowing that Lauren will be in next week's episode. So
yay.
Yeah.
Dorothy. We get Dorothy back.
Dorothy in her new life.
Right.
Yeah, that makes so much more sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Go to her. And you can hear a whisper in the sound editing. There's a whisper effect.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Like she's hearing a whisper of what this alter is saying.
Yeah. And then I wonder if the reason the alter is saying go to her is because where Simone is just like, you need some help and I don't want you around. Van is, we see Simone dealing with Thais' mental illness much differently than the way Van did.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Simone is also threatening to out her.
Right.
Can't help or I go to the press.
Yeah.
Give up what you love or I out you.
Right.
Whereas Van was all about support and understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And making her feel as safe as possible.
Correct.
Yeah.
I looked at mirror symbolism, truth, deception, self-reflection, enlightenment, the soul. In psychology, it's seen as a threshold between the conscious and the subconscious.
Mhm.
Triggers self-awareness in us to our persona. It would be the conscious and the unconscious, but close enough.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. And the altar gets a bit more and more bold in terms of like what it's doing and it's trying to get her attention, I think really is what it is.
Well, that's what I meant about agency. Like before
Yeah.
it was I take time when she lets me, and now it's
Yeah.
I'm taking control. I'm,
Right.
you need to do something
Yeah. Like,
for
hey,
us. So
hello. Yeah.
yeah, here I
Mhm.
am.
Yeah.
And she looks angrier too. Like
Oh yeah.
I'm pissed off at you, Ty.
From there, we go to the scene in the gym, and I thought with Jeff, and I know it's a small scene, but I did wonder if I'm a little worried about Jeff and his anger, but at the same time, I also wondered, like, because he's suppressing a lot of stuff, right? And so then
Yeah.
it might come out in with different people and situations that could get him in trouble. But then the other part of me goes, I wonder if this is a strategy, if he like went over there purposefully and if he was trying to set it up in a way that would make Shauna look less implicated. I don't know. What did you think?
I didn't really know what to make of that scene.
Yeah,
It was an odd scene.
it was.
I think it was meant to just make Jeff look more incompetent, in contrast to Shauna, how good
Yeah.
she is at this stuff.
Okay.
How bad Jeff is at it. But
yeah, because I'm just
also,
all you're doing is drawing more attention to her, dude.
right,
Like, what are you doing?
aggro.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, is he just being an idiot, or is there some sort of bigger strategy here that I'm missing?
Yeah, I think he's just being an idiot.
And then, of course, yeah, like you said, cut in contrast to Shauna, who then at this point goes into the chop shop and scares the shit out of this dude.
Like, I thought the highlight of the episode, this scene.
Yeah, no, I agree. This scene was so well done. I was on the edge of my seat, so to speak. It was,
Yeah. The way it was written, the way it was performed. I loved that line about my hand wasn't shaking because I was afraid. It was shaking because of how badly I wanted to do this.
Yeah. When she's talking about like peeling back the skin, I'm thinking that this is something that she ends up doing a lot, or is maybe one of her jobs, and we just don't know that yet.
Yeah. She's the knife girl.
Yeah.
She's the one that always has the knife. So it makes sense that she would do some skin peeling.
But she seems so traumatized in the past at the moment that like I can't envision her beginning to do this, not much less like it, to a point where it propels the monologue that we saw. I'm like, who is this version of Shauna? Because I don't feel like we've seen her yet. We haven't seen that version of teenage Shauna.
And that's why the show's going to be 5 seasons or planned.
Okay, is that what it is? I was curious if there was like a
plan
set
for 5 seasons. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we'll get to that good stuff.
Yeah.
Season 4 maybe.
Yeah. Like really seeing what they all like when they're all really in it, what their roles were, and yeah. Because I just thought, man, I don't see her enjoy. Like, why did she like it so much? Why is she so savage? And you're just going, we have not seen this girl yet. So it made me wonder, like, is she testing the limits? Does she have an intention of following through here? Is there a reason she stopped? It looks like, what is she afraid of? Anything?
Going to jail.
Did you think she was going to do it?
No.
Yeah.
But I liked how well she played it, where it looked like she was like, oh God, I want to do this so badly.
Yes, I loved that, like, resolve, that button on the end of that moment, where it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go. It was really good.
And then the thank you.
Yeah.
Not for the keys, but for the moment.
For the moment, yeah.
So good.
So we get to the part where Lottie is starting to struggle, and she's talking with Nat about the bees and explaining it, right?
Right, yeah, about and the only important, I mean, I'm mentioning it because she's talking about queens and telling Nat, when a new queen bee is born, she goes and stings all the other, potential queen eggs to death.
And Nat's kind of like, well, that's dark or whatever, and she says, well, it's natural.
It's natural. Yep, nothing wrong with natural.
And then it made me wonder, like, okay, so she has that, and then we tie it back around where she discovers that process has happened. is what I assumed that meant. Like when she pulled it out and she saw all the blood there, I was assuming that that meant that a new queen bee had hatched and killed all of the other ones.
We learn it was a vision or a hallucination.
So that was a hallucination. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I think what it meant was it was supposed to represent the death of the cult. Like all the bees are dead.
Oh.
It's all gone. Like I'm losing, I'm losing my stability.
I took it to mean sort of that, but more like I'm losing my power.
Same thing. Yeah.
Right. I also thought too, like Nat has arrived, and it made me wonder if she was equating Nat as like the new queen bee threat.
Yep.
Because in the past we're looking at that division happening, and so that's what Nat represents, and maybe she is worried that she is going to be killed in a way, spiritually or metaphorically or whatever, by Nat's arrival.
Yes. I didn't even think about it this way. Yeah. I mean, if there are rival groups and Lottie leads one and Nat leads the other, then Nat's reappearance would certainly start jostle Lottie's confidence present day. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think she knows that, Nat is powerful and strong. And so that's why in some ways I think she admires her, and in other ways she feels threatened by her.
Yeah. And they're playing with each other.
Right.
Lottie plays with her in that group exercise where she tries to get Lisa to if you're feeling that anger, if you feel the need to hurt her,
do it.
Go for it. Yeah, do it. And again, Nat leans in. We see again, present day, these women, they lean into violence. They're not afraid of confrontation.
No, not at all.
They're very comfortable and familiar with it. Yeah. And then you see, I love the look on Nat's face where she's like, fucking Lottie. Don't play your cult games with me.
Right.
I noted when she said, this is a safe space, or it's a, what does she say? This is a judgment-free zone. And I thought about the cannibalism.
Yeah.
We all do it together.
Yeah. I wonder how much like the various members in the cult know about Nat or about what happened to them or whatever, because some of them seem to come from a place that's more knowing than others.
I know. Well, we know that Ty was paying to keep tabs. Lottie was using her cult members as free labor.
Right.
Like, oh, Nat just got out of rehab again. She might be vulnerable, or she might be a threat.
Right.
We're going to watch her. See what she's doing.
Yeah.
At the end of Lottie's hallucination around the dead bees and the blood all over the combs, she hears the voice in French.
Oh, right. Yes.
He wants blood.
He wants blood. Oh, dang.
He wants blood.
Okay. So blood sacrifice of some kind. It's not just death, but maybe it's even more specifically blood.
Yeah. I want to say that's an upcoming title of an episode.
And then we have like we said earlier, we've got here at the end, all of the birds start falling from the sky.
Yeah. After Shauna has in the past, Shauna has the nosebleed holding Lottie's blanket. What I focused on was the argument between Nat and Lottie. How Nat immediately upon seeing the symbols, like, what the fuck, Lottie? What is this, a joke? Why would you put this on evil symbol? Yeah. And Lottie seems genuinely
she genuinely seems kind of confused and like
for protection. What?
Yeah. Right.
It was all around it
didn't occur to her that it could be a negative thing. It could also, bringing it back around to like the danger of the minerals and the mining and whatnot. I wonder if the symbol originated in that way. Like if it was something that was like a drawing meant to like notify or indicate people of like, this is a danger zone, don't go past here. And that it somehow mutated into sort of something that was more symbolic and metaphorical, but maybe it started out as
could cause nosebleeds, hallucinations, shock, death, all the symptoms that we're seeing.
Right.
Because Shauna gets the nosebleed.
Right then.
And, it could be like blood poisoning from the iron or whatever. So when Lottie and Nat are arguing about the symbol, Lottie was saying, don't you remember how we found it? It was all around the guy upstairs. And Nat's like, well, yeah, we found it all around a dead guy's corpse.
Right.
And then Lottie says, yeah, but I thought he was using it as protection.
Or as a
And
warning.
Right. Nat says, he died, Lottie.
Exactly.
And then Lottie says, just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it's evil. Someone, a very intelligent person online, noted it was written in dust around the corpse, meaning he didn't write it. Someone else drew it.
Yeah.
And that would serve as a warning.
Right. Yeah.
This guy lived on this land and he died.
And this is a warning. Therefore, if you see this elsewhere, consider it a warning.
Stay away.
A harbinger of death. Yeah. Stay away. Yeah.
Ooh, harbinger of death. You brought it back.
Yeah.
You're so smart.
So are you. And together, we join forces.
To try to cover this very complicated show. Yes. We thought we were brilliant covering Servant. And then we tried to tackle Yellowjackets and realized we know nothing.
We're going to need a minute. Oh, man. Well, I thought it was a very interesting episode. And I know some people were like, oh, I feel like this is filler. I saw a couple people saying that. But man, we've been talking for a while now. So I feel like there was a whole lot to cover and a whole lot of movement towards, maybe not revealing new things, but giving more solidification and clarity to some extent on some of the things that have already been laid down.
Yeah, I like the recurring themes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that we're moving towards the return of Van. I'm so excited for that.
Oh, me too. Well, I thought that was great. Is there anything that you wanted to add or that we didn't get covered?
I think my brain has exploded.
I know, me too.
All that we covered.
But it was good. It was a lot.
And, I liked the episode. I loved the show.
Me too.
I want more.
It is going to be fun. It's going to be a good ride.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, next week we'll get to see Lauren Ambrose make her Yellowjackets debut as adult Van, which we're super excited about, and see where things go from here. So, tune in. And and like I said, I know we discussed some of what we talked about in 1 and 2, so we may or may not put something up about it. But feel free if there's anything that you guys want to bring up in the comment section on those episodes. Feel free to do that as well. We just we're wanting to keep up and not fall too far behind. So yeah. So thank you guys for joining us for Yellowjackets Decoded, and we're excited to go on this journey with you. So we'll be back next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.